Hello, friends. Welcome to Cinephilia.
Hello.
Was that less awkward than last time?
Whoa. I cast a really weird shadow on
Oh,
my
you
green
did.
screen. I've never noticed that before.
I just realized that
Um,
I'm doing giant arm motions and you can't see them in the camera because I'm really close.
nope. You got to do everything close to the
Okay.
shoulders.
Welcome, everybody.
This is it.
It's Monday.
Hello.
We're here. I'm eating Jawbreakers. This is a terrible time to stuck Jawbreakers in my mouth. Um, but it is what day is today? It's June 28th, and yes, we are one more. After the show, we have one more show before we go on our 1 month hiatus. While I go away for a little bit, but today we're gonna cover our reviews of In the Heights and Luca, both
Yeah.
currently streaming on HBO Max and Disney Plus,
Respectively.
respectively. But let's kick it off with our usual, which is the news.
Woo.
So,
Oh, look, it's Beetlejuice. I just have to say, when we ended up not doing a show not too long ago, we had a really fun topic that we're going to get back to when we come back from hiatus. But Beetlejuice was done for that topic.
so do you want to grab that first one?
Oh, let me pull up the news. I'm not even looking at it. I got distracted because Maury, my cat, decided now is the time to start meowing, as always. So the first thing in the news is we already talked about Mindy Kaling doing this, um, I guess a reboot of Scooby Doo, but with Velma as the lead character, just following Velma. Um, and now it's been revealed that Velma in that series is Asian. And of course, like, what do you expect when that happens? White people are all up in arms.
Well, racist white people. I think regular people are
Well,
fine.
yes, right.
'Cause
Not all white people.
um, but yeah, I mean, there's always going to be people who are going to complain about,
Every single time.
especially when it comes to this, right? When it comes to casting a non-white actor in a role that doesn't really matter what Velma is.
Right. She's still going to be Velma.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's I mean, I'm looking forward to it. I'm interested to see because I think this is such a um new take. This is
Mm-hmm.
going to be such a new take. This is such an unexpected turn for the Scooby-Doo franchise
Mm-hmm.
that I'm kind of interested and excited to see what exactly it's going to be.
Reed Cooper says Velma has been Asian, all the Velmas, but she has always been Asian. Is what Reed H. Cooper says. Has she? I don't know. I didn't watch enough Scooby Doo.
I did not know that either, to be honest. But it's you know it's fine that she is Asian. Like
It doesn't change anything.
even if she wasn't always Asian, I feel like her being Asian now is not anything to be up in arms about. I've not been a very huge fan of Scooby Doo, to be honest, so I've never
Yeah, me
really
either.
followed that closely. Um, but yeah, it's like it's not a big deal.
It's not. I don't know why people keep getting upset at those kinds of things. Next on the news, I know you guys are all waiting for this, and I'm sure a lot of people are looking forward to this. A Polly Pocket movie is in the works, and Lena Dunham is doing this. I don't know why we needed a Polly Pocket movie in 2021. Do you guys even remember what Polly Pockets are? And Mighty Max?
I remember Polly Pocket,
Yeah.
and I remember Mighty Max. I'm not sure. Yeah, I don't know what this is. You know how like I was just saying, it's interesting that we're getting like Mindy Kaling doing Velma. I feel the complete opposite. I don't think there's anything interesting about Lena Dunham doing Polly
No,
Pocket.
no,
But
I don't
that's
either.
just I am also not absolutely not the target demographic for that. So maybe it's just
Yeah,
not for
maybe.
me.
Rich Cooper says, "What the fuck is Polly Pocket?" So you guys remember Mighty Max? Mighty Max was the little thing that it was. It is Mighty Max, right? The little like clamshell
Yeah,
thing. It was that,
yeah.
but it was the Polly Pocket like girly version of that.
Right, because everything had to be gendered and separate
No,
back then.
th-
So if you make a boy's toy, you got to make a girl's toy, kind of thing. And so Polly Pocket was just this character who was about this big, and so she had a little clamshell that would open, and her world would be inside of it, and it'd be like so
Little
like her
house.
little house or whatever would be inside of it, and you would take the little toy that's this big and just walk around in the tiny little house, and that's how you played with Polly Pocket.
The story will follow
How
a.
that would translate to, yeah, okay, what's the
It says the
story?
story will follow a young girl and a pocket-sized woman who form a friendship.
I mean, I'm laughing already, so maybe it will be interesting. Maybe it'll be good, but I doubt it.
Oh my god, sounds
Um,
awful.
and honestly, it's not because it's Polly Pocket either. Like, I would not want to see a Mighty Max movie either. I just don't. I'm just not the demographic for it.
Up next, star Rachel Ziegler, who is the new Maria in West Side Story for the Spielberg movie, has been cast to play Snow White in Disney's live-action version of Snow White. Sure, some people are going to
I don't.
be up in arms at the fact that a Latina, I think she's not even full, she's like half Latina, is going to play Snow White. It's fine. She's very light-skinned.
Well, that's all that matters
Half
is that the
Colombian, that it is.
character,
Thank you,
the
Cindy.
character's skin is white as snow, and there are definitely Latinas
Mm-hmm.
that have skin like that.
Dude, you see a couple of my cousins.
Obviously.
But yeah.
But see, this is one of the. It's like our stories are segueing into each other. This is one of the cases where a character's skin color does matter, but it doesn't. It's not necessarily the race that matters. If that
Mm-hmm.
makes sense.
Yeah. Rich Cooper says, I just want to know who the dwarves are. Yeah, that seems more interesting. I'm more interested in finding out who's going to play the dwarves and what they're going to look like and how they're going to do that.
They're
What's
probably going to be CG.
their take on that going to be?
They're probably going to be CG characters.
Yeah, fully CG or
I like motion capture.
motion capture. Oh,
They'll
that probably
they'll
makes sense
hire they'll hire like beloved, well-known, tall actors to play
to do all the voices.
CG dwarves in motion capture.
That makes sense. They'll probably do that.
That's what they're going to do. Um, More importantly to me, I
Yeah.
want to know who's playing the evil queen.
Oh yeah, because
That's
that could be.
that's the casting that's going to make or break the movie for me.
Yeah, because Snow White isn't really not that important in this movie. In Snow White, she's pretty bland and easy to do. There's not much to her.
She's going to be asleep for most of the movie.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's gonna be
not most of it, but for a lot
for
of
a little
it. I
while.
mean, once they, Sleeping Beauty, they actually figured out a way not to have her sleep a whole lot in it.
Mhm.
So maybe they'll do the same for Snow White. But yeah. I also wonder because remember how when Disney was planning Mulan,
Yeah.
marketing Mulan, and they were like, "We're getting rid of this male character because he's an authority figure and shouldn't have a relationship with
Oh yeah.
Mulan," which was like so ridiculous because he's actually a great character. Um, so Disney has a history of like being overly sensitive about certain things. I wonder how they're going to figure out a way for the prince to wake up Snow White without her consent. Um,
Oh. And that's a big. They can't just skip over it because it's a big part of the
right,
story.
that's a major part of the story.
How do you rearrange that so it's not as creepy
Right,
as making out with a 16-year-old or 14? She's 14, I think, in
because
this cartoon.
Snow White and the prince do meet before she falls asleep in the story. So I wonder if there'll be a moment where Snow White's like, "If I'm ever asleep,
Yeah, just in
you may
case.
kiss me." You just
Permission
have to
granted.
say it.
Oh man, that's gonna be so weird and uncomfortable.
It's gonna be a weird take. We'll see what they do. Who's directing? Do we know?
Um, let me see. Oh, Mark Webb. Mark Webb is directing.
Okay. He I think that might be interesting.
He's okay.
I think I could. I think I could see that. Yeah, I'm not a huge fan, but
Like I know his
think
name,
that
but he's just
some of
not done anything that I'm like, oh my god, great.
yeah, some of the stuff he's done has been. He did Spider-Man, didn't he?
Yeah, he did the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man, I think.
Yeah, which those actually, I don't think that. We I'm going to tangent off into a whole nother show. Let's just the Snow White might be okay with Mark Webb. I'll just leave it at that.
It might be fine. And the last thing on the news. So anticipating that there was going to be leaks, the director of the new Shazam movie has released a picture of the new costumes. Because they assumed that they were gonna get leaked, so they decided to just put out a good picture. Which are these are the new costumes? Which are
that's a good picture, yeah.
If I remember correctly, they're very similar to the first one. They're not drastically different.
Right.
But they're a little slightly new design. They're cool. But
they all look great, and I'm gonna say, like, one of the problems I had with the first movie was that I couldn't get over him. Whenever he turned into Shazam, he just looked like he was in a Gaston costume,
yes.
like with the padded muscles, a costume from like the theme parks. And that these costumes still have the muscle padding in them.
Oh, but he looks better.
Yeah, it looks much better. The padding looks more realistic.
Yeah.
So it's definitely an improvement.
Because you could see whenever he would move his head, like his body wouldn't move with his head because it was mostly padding. It looked real weird.
Yeah, yeah. And again, we're just looking at a picture. Once we see them in motion, that'll really sell it, whether it looks realistic or not. Excuse me, but it definitely looks better than the previous movie. So yeah.
Rich Cooper says, "Who is Mary? Mary, is that Mary?
Yeah,
the older sister.
They recast her, I believe.
Okay.
It's not the same actress that was in the first one, but I don't know the new actress offhand.
Yeah, me neither. Everybody else is coming back though. It appears.
Yeah.
When I said, "Is this the one?" I took my mouse and circled. I was circling around her like you guys could see my mouse. I don't know why. I assumed you could see my mouse. That was stupid. So cool. So that's it for news. It was again. I feel like this past few years, has been so blech on news. I feel every week it's like, well, here's something weird happening.
I mean, we're still coming out of a pandemic, so it makes sense. It's been blah on news, and it's also been kind of blah on movies, to be honest.
That's true.
So all around, we're still coming back, but I have hope for future movies that are coming out, and also we're going to talk about a couple good movies today. So
yeah, we do have trailers. We have trailers. First movie trailer is that's not the right thing. It's for a movie called Shmigadoon. Shmigadoon.
Just let us read it.
It's for Apple TV. It looked funny. It's too funny, people. Oh, audio.
In general, I just meant the height.
You don't want to make our relationship better?
Our relationship is fine.
What's that?
Church bells? Schmigadoon?
Oh.
Oh, it's like Brigadoon.
Where friends are all you meet.
Must be something they do for tourists.
Hey, everyone. Hey there, Pete. Woo! Can we go now?
Already?
What?
We can't leave. It's like magic. We're in an actual musical.
Please, God, no.
Everybody!
Alan Cummings?
They said we're only here till we found true love. Do you think this is true love?
What does that even mean? Who knows what Schmigadoon thinks is true love?
Which of you ladies wants to cross this bridge with me?
You want to try with other people?
We're the men.
What a beautiful couple you two made. Stop it. You are stunning. Compared to you, I'm a barefoot mess.
Ah! Let's go find your shoes, shall we?
That is dope, Kim.
We're stuck here forever.
You're just going to give up?
We're smart. We found our way out of IKEA. We'll find a way out of here.
Ladies, can I get a cackle?
We're in a musical, okay? Nobody gets killed in a musical, except Oklahoma and Carousel and South Pacific. Oh, hello,
Yeah,
West Side
just
Story.
keep
That's
naming
all
them.
the musicals.
Keep naming them. People die in musicals
Yeah.
all the time.
That's pretty cool.
It looks
That
like
looks
it
funny.
could be
I'll
funny.
watch it.
I like the cast.
Reach Cooper says Dove looks adorable. And yeah, the cast is great. I love the cast. I think it's kind of made it better because it feels like one of those movies that could be really awful, but having a good cast is going to make it pretty fun.
Yeah. I
Um,
agree.
and you said you already watched this, but I guess I should assume that you would have watched it anyways. But I haven't seen it because I was waiting for Monday. So here's like a full trailer of
This is where it all began.
Candyman. Just coming out at the end of the year.
Sorry, y'all. I was not waiting for y'all.
Yeah,
for
Will
this
couldn't
one.
wait.
Character, he walk around handing out candy to the neighborhood
Puppets.
kids. One day, a couple of kids get razor blades in their
good.
candy. Police come around. That's when I saw the true face of fear.
Get on your knees. Hands, hands, hands.
They beat him, tortured him, killed him right there on the spot. A couple weeks later, more razor blades and more candy. He been innocent.
So he's real.
Candyman ain't a he. Candyman's the whole damn hive. If you're out here looking for Candyman, you ask me, stay away.
I feel really connected to this story.
Go on.
Right here, in this neighborhood, the legend started. And the legend is, if we say his name 5 times while looking in the mirror, we could summon him.
Summon the Candyman.
Hell no.
Candyman.
Anthony, no.
Candyman.
Stop.
I don't want to get creeped out in my new apartment before bed.
Candyman.
Black people don't need to be summoning.
I dare you.
Don't say that.
Say his name.
Candyman.
You better not do that last one.
Candyman. You want to be a part of the story, right?
No.
Say his name. Candyman.
Anthony? Anthony. Anthony. Are you okay?
Anthony.
What the hell is going on?
This neighborhood is haunted.
I think I made a mistake.
It's a lot of
back.
Candyman isn't
I love it all.
He has purpose for you.
Tell everyone. New to the neighborhood.
You should say it.
Candyman.
Say his name.
Candyman!
Oh. August 27th. No, not again.
I cannot wait. I mean, if you want to play it again, feel free.
So
But I'll watch it after the show.
we did our Candyman episode last year sometime. And because I only watched the first movie. Do you think we have to watch 2 and 3 to watch this one, or can we just watch 1 and then be good?
I think you can just watch 1 and be good. There are definitely things in 1 that hold over to this one. I will say that.
Okay, you get enough of the
that
mythology to understand this
I
movie.
can see that. Yeah, I can see that in the trailer. There are specific things in 1 that are important for this one. I look at 2 and 3 as a bonus if you want to kind of like see
have the
more
time.
Candyman and maybe have some laughs because they're not great movies. But the first one is a most definite watch before this one. Definitely check out the first one.
Cool. And our last trailer, which I've been looking forward to, is the new trailer. Well, actually, the trailer for Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
And I have not seen this.
Throughout my life.
By the way, I'm sorry, I'm going to stop this. My nephew, my 10-year-old nephew, desperately wanted to talk to me about this trailer this morning. I was like, no, we can't talk about it. I haven't seen anything. He was like, can I just tell you one thing? I was like, no, tell me tomorrow.
Oh.
We'll do it tomorrow. So, okay, here we go.
Throughout my life, the 10 rings gave our family power. If you want them to be yours one day, you have to show me you are strong enough to carry them.
You are a product of all who came before you. The legacy of your family. You are your mother. And whether you like it or not, you are also your father.
I told my men they wouldn't be able to kill you if they tried. Glad I was right.
You're just a criminal who murders people.
Be careful how you speak to me, boy.
I thought I could change my name. Start a new life. But I could never escape his shadow.
My son, you can't run from your past.
Is this what you wanted?
You got this.
Thank you.
Is that Abomination?
It is. It sure
Oh,
is.
That's who my nephew wanted to talk about. He's like, just one character. I was like, oh,
yeah,
that's
that
cool.
was like the whole trailer looks cool, but the big takeaway online was that Abomination was in it. And the fact that he looks more like the comic version of him, because in the last movie we saw him in, he kind of didn't look that great, but special effects are much better now. He's got the fins on his face. He looks
That's
cool.
pretty cool.
And of course, we already know Tim Roth is coming back for one of the Disney Plus shows. Tim Roth played Abomination in the previous Hulk movie, so I don't know if Tim Roth is in this. Obviously, he might be doing motion capture, but I don't know if we'll see him as Tim Roth in this or not. But he's definitely coming back.
Well, that's cool. I like it.
Yeah, I kind of just want to skip Black Widow because I know Black Widow's about to come out. I kind of just want to skip it and go straight to Shang-Chi because I'm really excited for this one.
Yeah, I want to see it, but I'm not super excited about it.
About Shang-Chi or Black
No,
Widow?
about Black Widow.
Yeah.
I
am going to see
I'm
it.
gonna see it. And I'm gonna have to go see it at the movie theater because I don't want to wait. Because if I wait till it comes out on Disney Plus, like normal Disney Plus, I think it's this movie will already have been out, and I want to make sure I watch them in order that they're released in case there's anything that overlaps.
Right.
So.
Well, I got my AMC pass all signed up again, so I can go see it technically for free since I have already paid my money's worth in movie tickets.
I think mine restarts sometime next month. I got an email.
Oh, okay.
Something like that. So sometime soon. So I might end up just going.
Yeah.
But and then Reach Kuba asks, no Halloween trailer art? No, I wanted to keep the times short. I don't know. I just picked these. I wasn't that interesting. I mean, I don't know.
I will say I did watch. I was really bad this week, and I watched all the trailers.
You watched
except for I didn't see Schmigadoon, but I did watch the Halloween trailer too, and I like that it picks up exactly where the last one left off. And it looks good. I actually like those movies. So.
Oh, there it is. AMC said they were starting to charge AMC A-listers July 1st. I think that's what I got, the email that I got. So July 1st, I think.
Okay.
Automatically restarts. So.
Yeah, mine. I told them to go ahead and restart it earlier this month. So.
Yeah, I'll have to ask Amber if we're ready to go back to the theaters. I guess we are.
Honestly, if I'm ready to go back to the theaters, y'all are fine.
House.
I'm much more don't don't want to be around crowds and you guys. I think.
Yeah.
So you'll be fine. I went to the movies with Ryan this week.
I saw. How was that?
It was fun. We went to see Cruella.
Did you like Cruella?
I did like it a lot more than I expected to. It was way too long. I mean, it's 2.5 hours, so there were parts where I was just like, okay, falling asleep here. But Emma Stone as Cruella is actually pretty good casting. The story is there's some things that are just like, that's a little too much. But most of it is pretty grounded and pretty cool. So I have to say I liked Cruella more than I expected to.
Reach Cooper says AMC system isn't like Regal, I assume. I don't think so. I don't know exactly. I don't remember exactly what Regal, but I think AMC is the only one that has the basically what MovieFast used to be, where you could just watch whatever you want.
Regal does have a system like that, but there are more catches to it, I think. Yeah. Like Regal, I know you can do Regal is unlimited. You can actually see more movies with Regal. Because AMC is only 3 a month.
Oh, is it?
Regal you can do unlimited. You can go as much as you want. But with Regal, you have to pay a year in advance. You have to pay the whole year.
Wow.
And so it's like a couple $100 up front. Where AMC, you just, you do whatever, $20 a month or whatever for, your 3 movies a month. So if you're going more than 3 a month, I'm sorry, not a month, 3 a week. Regal, AMC is 3 a week. Regal is unlimited. So if you're going to see more than 3 movies a week, then maybe you want to go to Regal. It also depends on what is nearby for you. What's the closest? Like if you're closer to a AMC, you might as well just do AMC. So I looked into that because Regal is actually the closest theater to me. But right now, there's not enough for me to go like unlimited. There's just not enough even in the theater for me to pay like that much money up front for a year. So I'm just sticking with AMC for now. We'll see what happens in the future.
I'm still waiting for Cinemark to do something cool. Their program kind of sucks. It's like $10 and you get a ticket, and basically you just pay for your one ticket in advance per month. And then you get a bunch of like rewards, and then you can buy another ticket for discounted. Oh, and you waive online fees. I guess that's the one cool thing is if you bought, because I did when I went to Cinemark, because it's the theater that I like the most, it's closest to me. I was always buying online, so they always have those online fees. So it was nice to not have those online fees. But there's no like cool program about going to see a bunch of different movies or anything. It's kind of boring. Because the AMC that's close to me it's small, and I don't really like it. And like half the theater is not. It's 12 screens. 6 of them are not stadium seating. They're the old style. Because it was a 6 theater thing, and then they rebuilt the place, and they just added 6 more screens, and they made those. But even those are kind of old, so it's not a great theater. So I have to go. I go all the way to the block to go see AMC.
That's where I go for AMC. That's actually a good one.
So
Cindy over on Volume is saying that they saw Human's wife's bodyguard, or sorry, not Human, Hitman's wife's bodyguard a couple weeks ago. How was that, Cindy? Because I was thinking about going to see that, but I haven't yet. Let us know how that was. What you thought of it.
Cool. So let's get start our conversation on Luca and In the Heights. You want to start off with Luca?
Sure. How do you want to start this conversation? Did you like yay or nay? Did you like it?
Yeah, I did like it. I thought it was pretty cute. Okay. I did enjoy it.
Yeah, it was cute. I mostly liked it. Yeah. I'll say I liked it.
Okay. So one of the things about this movie that I kind of felt going through it is it didn't feel Pixar. It strayed up quite a bit from Pixar style, which I didn't mind. I didn't think it was a bad thing. It just didn't feel like a Pixar movie until the feels happened, and then I was like, okay, there goes the Pixar in this movie, because now I feel things. But the rest of the movie was very much like, it almost had the feel of a Laika movie, kind of.
I was gonna say something different.
What were you gonna say?
I was gonna say Aardman.
I was thinking that too. Yeah, and not, again, not in a bad way. It just felt different, which I guess it's cool because I feel like they allowed the director to kind of take its own direction, and just they basically Pixar supported that, and they weren't beholden to like, this is what we do and we have to do it this way. This movie does feel like the director and the writers had freedom to do things, which is really cool.
Yeah, I think that the only reason I hesitate in saying like I mostly liked it is because it didn't. And I think this goes along with what you just said about it not feeling like Pixar. Um, it really didn't pull on my heartstrings that hard.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely has some moments that are touching, and it definitely has a story that speaks to very marginalized people, which I absolutely love, obviously. But there was something about it that just felt very simple.
It was super simple.
It was super simple, and so I there were moments where I was just like, let's add something else to the mix. Like there could be something else that going on that really makes it have more of an umph for me. But otherwise, it was like a great story, and I guess the fact that it was simple allowed it to focus more.
Yeah.
So I mean, so that's why I'm kind of like, I wish there was more umph, but at the same time, it was great as it was. So I'm really torn on it.
Yeah, I was a fan that it was simple, because we get so many movies, and not just animation, but movies that everything gets super complicated and they try to jam in a bunch of things. But this kept it just straightforward. Like, here are the beats, here's what's happening, and allowed the characters to kind of come out. And I think for a change, as like, especially from Pixar, to do something different, I did really enjoy it. I do see now why it went straight to Disney Plus and not to Disney Plus Premiere, because I do feel like it was a hard movie to market to get people to pay the $30. I think it was worth it to them to just put it out there so people would watch it, because I feel like it right off the bat, you don't see a lot of the things that kids would want to watch or families would want to watch. There's nobody recognizable, nothing about it, it's not a remake of anything, it's not a sequel to anything. So I think it would have been a hard sell for the Disney Premiere Plus, but I do think it's worth seeing, and it's a good movie.
Yeah, I definitely think if you haven't seen it already, we're going to spoil it, so I hope you've seen it. But if you haven't seen it already, it's definitely worth watching. Definitely watch it. Probably so far the best animated movie of the year. I mean, that's not saying much since it's 2021 and we're coming out of a pandemic. I have not sat down and watched Raya and the Last Dragon. So I can't compare it to that. But so far, this is the best animated movie I've seen this year. And it's let's talk about the two lead characters, the two kids that we follow through this, because I feel like there's such a sweet relationship here, and it really a lot of the internet has started to claim this as a queer film. And I totally can see that. I mean, it has to do with these two boys who are bonding, but also they're both characters who have kind of been tossed out by their families. And so they're now in a new world trying to figure out how to exist because their families don't want them, and at the same time have this huge secret to keep. They have to kind of do everything undercover, because if society figured out their secret, then it's like damnation and condemnation. So it very much speaks to queer audiences specifically. I'm sure there are lots of reads for other audiences as well. But I know a lot of people who are just like, this is Pixar's, gay movie. And the fact that it is happening here during Pride Month, I think queer viewers already have their antennas up for this kind of thing, especially right now. And so, like, the characters are so vibrantly colorful too. There's just a lot of ways to read this as a queer film.
Yeah.
And I absolutely see it.
And
I love
I
it
think,
for that.
And I think for me, a clarification that I had to make in ahead is there are movies that are allegories that are very specifically, this story we're telling is actually about this, and we're just doing an allegory. This wasn't necessarily an allegory of queer issues, but it was more like coding and it was. The story necessarily wasn't exactly about that, but it did give you the themes of it and the ideas of it, which could apply to other marginalized people or other people who have similar experiences. But some of the coding that kind of happened was definitely pointed in that direction.
Yeah, and it's interesting because it absolutely is not intentional on Pixar's part. It's definitely the read of the audience, but the director has already come out as saying that wasn't the intent, but there it is. And I think it's so funny that, especially coming from Disney, how Disney always intentionally markets gay characters for their movies in order to get their audience, and then those characters end up being like some shitty side character that doesn't do anything.
Yeah, like I guess technically they're gay, but not importantly, yeah.
But then here we have a movie that was not intentionally made just for gay audiences, but gay audiences are eating it up because the content is there. That just seems, so funny to me that Disney can't intentionally make a movie like this where the queer content is actually blatant. I would love to see that from Disney, but until then, we have Luca, and Luca is actually a really good stand-in for that.
It does feel a little weird to me that for a director to say that was not intentional, because it definitely does feel intentional. Because it was
very weird.
You don't have to dig for it; it's there. It's not completely obvious, but it's definitely there. And even some of the stuff that happens at the end to me, it was very much was about that.
Yeah.
So
what were your favorite moments in this movie? Like what moment, I have to ask, since you said the movie finally showed you its Pixar-ness, what moment was the moment that made you really swell up?
When they finally people discover that they're animals from the sea or sea monsters or whatever, it's Roberto, the friend, who is seen first, and Luca points at him and he goes, "Sea monster," because he doesn't want to get caught. That was incredibly sad that he just, in a panic, betrayed his friend, and literally could have gotten him killed. Because they literally tried to kill him. This movie had some dark, not moments, but definitely dark ideas. They were all about murdering these sea animals, and they talked about death and murder like it was nothing. In this little cute cartoon, it was real weird. But and that was really sad. And then learning Roberto's story and stuff, that was pretty heartbreaking.
Yeah, Alberto was actually my favorite character in this movie. I feel like
Alberto is the friend that's here in the poster.
Yeah. I feel like the story is very much more centered on Luca, even though it's kind of a buddy film, so you get both of them a lot. But it's definitely centered on Luca coming to terms with who he is, and also his family coming to terms with who he is. And that was great. I think that was all great. But for me, Alberto and the situation that he was thrust into felt so much more dire that it pulled my attention a little bit more, and that character was just so well done. All the characters are actually well done. I actually like I forget her name, but the friend that they meet once they
little girl.
come up on land. She was really cute too, and I like that she was
Julia. Julia.
This is why I can't speak about this movie without keep going back to the queer content, because on top of everything I've already said, this um, this movie also plays with gender norms, and she's very much like a tomboy. We get this female character who, isn't reduced to just like fawning over a guy or like wanting to kiss one of the two guys that she just met. She doesn't, it's not even like that. It's just them being friends.
Yeah.
And then one of the villains for the movie is very, it's kind of Italian tropes that they're playing with in this, these character types. But at the same time, this villain is so very dainty and like
so good.
Oh, I love him so much. And he kind of looks like, I think it's funny, he's kind of a caricature of Walt Disney. He kind of looks like Walt Disney.
He does look like young Walt Disney.
Like
That's
young
funny.
Walt Disney.
Yeah.
All the character designs in this are great. I really love the character designs.
The three kids that in this movie, I thought that those three kids like acted the shit out of this movie. And the two boys are particularly like two kids that I've seen in a few things that I'm like, these kids are super talented, and I'm glad that Pixar was able to recognize that and grab them and put them in this movie. Luca's played by Jacob can't say his last name. What's his last name? Tremblay, who was in with Captain Marvel in that movie called Room, not The Room, but just Room, where he was like little. He was probably like 5 or 6, and they've been the whole movie's about them being abducted. And he's been in a bunch of other different movies. He's a super talented kid. The other kid.
I believe that he is also, someone can fact check me, but I believe he's also playing Flounder in the Little Mermaid remake.
Oh, I think so too. And also this kid, this is Jack Dylan Grazer, who is who's in Shazam. He's not the kid that becomes Shazam, but the friend or the stepbrother. And he's also in it. And I think he's also super talented. He was actually one of the better things about Shazam, the movie. And what is happening? And
I don't know. I hear her beeping.
Sorry, it was my phone ringing. I couldn't find it. And the little girl, Emma Berman, this is only her second credit, and she was amazing.
What was her first?
I don't know, something random about some cars or something. Maybe I don't know what it was, but it was like something super small. Yeah, on Letterboxd it only has her in Luca, and I think her other credit might have been a short film or some a small animation thing, and she was great. But these kids were, they definitely like did a lot, and that whole movie was on their shoulders.
Yeah, there were a lot of things in Luca that kind of reminded me of other movies, and I don't know if it was intentional or not, but the whole opening of it kind of reminded me of The Little Mermaid. Just him like wanting to explore more, and then the parents saying no, don't do that, and then he goes up. Parents have to go after him. So there was that, like the whole like first act was like, okay, this is Little Mermaid, which might have been done intentionally to have people see something familiar within the movie so they can attach to the characters. And then there's another movie that Dave and I just watched just like I'd probably say a little over a month ago, called The Big Blue, which is a Luc Besson movie. I don't know if many people have seen it. Luc Besson is the same director as Fifth Element and The Professional and Valeria and all those movies. This movie is called The Big Blue, and it has to do with these two friends who grow up in a very similar area to Luca. Racing is a big part of their what's happening in their relationship. Like they bond over racing, but it also has to do with one of the guys. They also dive, and they dive as a sport, and so it's all about them and their experience in water. And one of the guys becomes very very well known within the dolphin community. I'm just going to leave it at that. Um, within that movie, so there are lots of. I wonder if there were any intentional nods to the Big Blue and Luca, like if the director was a fan of that movie, because there are a lot of like, oh, that's really similar. Like even just some of the settings of the movie, like the different alleyways that they're walking through and stuff, looked a lot like that movie. And the Big Blue is so hard to find now. We actually had to get it from Netflix DVD. Nope, that's not right. We were looking for it on Netflix DVD, and they actually didn't have it, so we ended up renting it from iTunes to watch it.
Oh yeah.
That's how hard it is to find. You just have to, rent it. It's not streaming anywhere. But I always love it. Like that's one of my favorite things is to see nods and homages to other movies. So I was like very, very excited to be like, oh, I just watched The Big Blue, and if I hadn't seen that a couple weeks ago, I totally would have missed some of these references.
Cool.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to see that. H. Cooper says you realize the director has been at Disney or Pixar for over 20 years. Yeah, he's been a storyboard artist for Pixar for maybe since Ratatouille for a while now. He's been working in animation for a very long time. So this is kind of like a nice, he's been working as an artist and made his way all the way to directing a Pixar film, which is great. And then Pixar does tend to do that to elevate some of their talented artists and people to bring them up, because the storyboard artists in Pixar movies do help shape the movie all the movies a whole lot. Because at Pixar they basically they storyboard the entire movie beginning to end before they start working on animation, because you don't want to have to reanimate things. So the storyboard artists are a big part of creating the stories, which is kind of amazing.
Yeah, I think both Pixar and Disney are doing really good, especially now more so than before, with making sure that new talent is seen and making sure that people get some chances, even if it's not a full feature film at first. Like a lot of both Pixar and Disney now have these shorts programs where they're allowing people with more diverse takes on things and more diverse stories and things that we don't get to see all the time. They're allowing them to have an outlet on a big scale. There are a bunch of like, go ahead.
And I think but Pixar has done that, like the co-director thing, when they brought up people who maybe weren't 100% ready to lead a full feature by themselves, but they made them co-director so they could get them working in the industry and as a director without having the pressure of being the sole director of a movie, which is a lot of pressure.
I also love in this movie the dad and the cat. I think they're such a good combo.
Connie called him the Ron Swanson cat.
Yes,
he was great.
Yes,
and he has very few scenes, but like the scenes that he's in were perfect.
And you know how Pixar usually would do like a short after a movie just to like, so you can see more of the characters or whatever. I really want, with the way the movie left off, spoilers if you didn't watch it, Alberto ends up living with the dad. And I really want to see a short of their life together, like the two of them and that cat and what's happening. And also like the dad is a fisherman. So it's this movie has really strong things to say about how you can change your mind about things, because he has to go from being someone who literally kills creatures from the sea for a living. He has to find a whole new way to figure that out after he befriends these characters. And then also the other parents, Luca's parents, who are looking for him and don't want anything to do with the land. They end up on the land trying to find their son, and they have to, change their mind about things as well. So it's that's another theme I guess I like about that movie, is just the fact that, even if you're set in your ways, you can progress into something better. You can still figure out that, you can be a better person. You can treat people better.
For one of the things that stood out big for me here on a technical stuff is the animation was really good and really specific. particularly the villain of the movie, I forget his name. His animation was perfect. He poses.
He was so fun to watch. Yeah.
It happens and this is animation, puppetry, and a bunch of things. We talk about motivation. Like you don't want unmotivated movement. You don't just want somebody to move just to move. And this movie, particularly that character, every single thing that they did was incredibly motivated and very specific. And if you haven't seen it, pay attention to the villain character in this movie. And his animation is so funny. And it just moves super quick because he does a bunch of poses as he's talking. He's kind of flamboyant and has all these hand gestures, and they did a really good job at concentrating on that and make that happen.
Yeah, and you were talking about this movie not really feeling like Pixar and feeling more like a Leica or Aardman movie, and part of that really goes with the design of the movie too, because Pixar is so. Usually we get movies that are a little more photorealistic from Pixar. Like they've been pushing into that. They've been pushing that way for so long that that's kind of what we expect from them, that their movies are going to look more and more realistic every time. And this movie didn't do that at all. And I mean that as a positive. Like everything in this movie is so stylized, like the way that the mouths move on the characters, the way that all of the character, it felt like another company because it felt like something that was more designed and less trying to be realistic. And they pulled it off well. It was beautiful. The colors are so vibrant too. Like this movie is so fucking colorful and I love it.
I think this movie kind of feels like what Lilo and Stitch felt like when that came out. Where like you knew it was part of that thing, but it was very different and it felt different. So I do highly recommend this movie.
Yeah, I recommend it too.
Do watch it. It's a great movie. It's really fun. It's super cute. And I think you'll have a good time.
I agree.
All right. Let's move on to In the Heights. Yay or nay?
I'm going to say yay for the story and the talent, nay for the filmmaking.
Okay.
That's how I feel about In the Heights.
Yes, I'm going to go with that. I won't talk about that. And I'm also going to say super yay because I'm a big fan of the show, so I'm lightly skewed. And I'm also not a purist, so I don't need everything to be exactly the same. Just give me the thing and I'll be happy. Regis Cooper says, I lasted 10 minutes of In the Heights. You got past the opening scene.
It's the filmmaking. The film. I think that I'm going to, you know, how you just said, like, you love the original show, so maybe you're, like, skewed that way. I'm going to say I'm skewed in a way that I don't think that I like modern movie musicals. I don't think that they are it for me. I love classic movie musicals, and I feel like a lot of the ways that musicals used to tell story don't happen anymore. The musicals that we get now are much more like music video directors are directing them as opposed to film directors. And I think that takes away from some of the excitement of watching a musical. I guess that's the way I'll put
it. For me, like the filmmaking had, it was up and down for me. There were some parts where I was like, and I honestly, I was like, that was pretty good. Oh, I didn't like this that much. Oh, this is kind of boring. And the other parts I thought was great. I do think that a lot of it was the editing. I felt like the editing was weak. I think that the director had some ideas and some visions, and I don't think the editor, and I guess the director, because the director should have told the editor, they didn't pull it off. There are a lot of times at these high energy moments that the editing was very slow and without energy, and didn't match the energy of what we were hearing, and I found that to happen a lot. I also found it that it felt like certain pieces of the movie were thought out really well. Like a lot of time spent in like developing them and finding something that they wanted to tell. And other ones just felt like they shot it and were like and assembled it in the edit rather than having a vision for it. Particularly for me, the one piece that I loved that I thought was really pretty was the Grandma song, Paciencia Fe.
That was a great scene,
and that was because it was very different to the rest of the movie. But you could tell that that whole thing was thought out and directed, and I thought that was really cool. If the whole movie had been like that, it would have been amazing.
Yeah. So I'm not someone who had seen the original show before. I'd never seen In the Heights, so this was my first outing with this story. I've heard some of the music and I've heard people talk about it because it's just a part of pop culture now. Like people love that show. The same way with Hamilton. So I knew a little bit about it going in. I was fine with the music. The music's great. All of the cast, the singing, everyone is top notch. Everyone is like really great. But it was exactly what you said. It was like the way that the director and editor and everyone involved captured it. Some of it just felt very lackluster. It's kind of like, let's just set a camera here, and let's set a camera here, let's record it, and then let's take it into the editing room and chop it to bits.
Yeah,
like a
music video.
Right, like a music video.
Yeah,
and I think that's part of the problem is that this movie should have some great musical set pieces, but those moments aren't allowed to breathe like a musical should be allowed to breathe. And I think that moment you brought up with the grandma, her moment, actually is allowed to breathe, and that's why it's so strong. That's like one of the standout moments in the movie for sure.
Cindy says it made feel like the movie was dragging. Yeah, and the movie did drag here and there because the pacing of the movie is so weird. It does feel like since John Chu is kind of a younger director, he doesn't have like a team. He doesn't have the cinematography always. I'm assuming this. He doesn't have the cinematographer that he always works with. He doesn't have the editor that he always works with. Somebody who can make those kind of calls, so that he has a team that he's like entirely creatively engaged with. So I don't think a lot of his ideas got put through. And again, they tried things. They tried a lot of interesting things, and some things were hit, some things weren't. The movie every now and then does these things where it goes into kind of like fantasy moments where like weird things happen. I didn't really have a problem with them. I kind of like some of them, but since we talk about this in movies a lot, commitment was an issue. Committing to whether something was going to be full fantasy. Again, the grandma song was the only thing where they committed to the fantasy of it and they went deep into it. But everything else was like, it was not weird decisions. Like one of the things I found was weird. There's the one song, like When You're Home, I think it is. And it's when basically they start dancing on the side of the building.
I knew you were going to say this moment.
And I thought it was pretty because I was like, oh, it's cool they're doing this thing. But then they cut to the kid inside eating, and like he spots them walking up the wall, and he's like, and it's a funny moment. It's like a funny thing, but it didn't make sense because we're supposed to be in a fantasy at that moment. So some weird little choices like that sometimes took me out. I was like, you didn't commit to the fantasy. You could have just let that happen because it was about the two. It's a couple that are singing to each other. And it's about their moment and how they're kind of living inside of that, and they didn't commit to that. Yeah,
that moment was. I actually got excited when that moment started because I was like, "Oh, this could be really cool," and then it just didn't go anywhere.
No,
like there was just like, "Okay, we're on the side of the building now. What are y'all gonna do? Oh, you're not gonna do anything."
Yeah, okay. Like it started real nice, and then I loved the end because I liked how they lay up against the wall and they slid down the wall. And they landed. That was so pretty, but the middle was kind of like, oh, okay, now we're just you.
Now I'm just gonna sit on. I'm gonna sit on this railing sideways, and then I'm gonna move my turn around, and that's it. And we're gonna slide back down.
Minish Cooper says, "I wonder if I would have liked them more if I actually liked Lin-Manuel's music." Probably.
Yeah, if you don't like his music, then there
And
you
you know.
go. Also, do we have an In the Heights poster? Because we're still looking
Oh,
at
I'm
Luca.
sorry. I got into the
I
chat.
at least want to see all these pretty brown faces.
Where is it? There it is. Yeah, the talent in the is it's the one. It's so, they're so good, and actually because they got people who are real singers or dancers, and they didn't try to put a big star in the role just so they could get a name out there. They took people who are extremely talented at what they do, and they put them in this movie. And I think that's what kind of one of the things that saved this movie. The fact that your talent was so good.
I'm trying to think of what the other standout moments for me was. Definitely the grandma song. I don't know any of the songs by name. There were moments in the public pool scene that I thought were really cool.
Yes.
That was starting to get to the height of great movie musical moments. It almost got there. There were like, I think the moments when they're all choreographed in the water and splashing around and everything, there was just like water everywhere. I was like, that is really cool. Like when I don't know any of the characters' names either. When his cousin, it was his cousin, right, or his nephew. When he has his little rap moment and everyone's splashing behind him.
Yeah.
Those shots were great. Those were like really full of energy. Really got you into the moment. I was like, okay, I'm getting hyped now. But then it ended.
Yeah. Yeah, that was such a cool.
Just so back and forth. Yeah,
that place was so cool. It's this just giant pool with a bunch of people in it, and there was like a ton of really good shots that just never came together.
Yeah,
and that was unfortunate.
It's like that could have been a whole moment, but instead we just got really cool shots within a moment as opposed to the whole moment. Another thing that was like that was when they're all kind of coming together at the end. Not coming together. When what's her name is leaving, the one who has the salon, she's leaving, and then she goes and finds them like in the courtyard. That courtyard scene was a standout scene for me. I think that was mostly well done. Like it took a while to step it up into it. It was very slow to start, but I think by the end of that song, you really got a feel for everyone and what everyone stood for, and everyone felt very strong and passionate at that point.
And that's a big standout moment in the show. And I think one reason why one help they got in the movie is the fact that it was just in that courtyard, so they didn't have a lot of places to go with cameras, and they almost shot it like a stage. And so it basically was about the performers and about the performance rather than what we could do with the filmmaking, which I think maybe this movie should have either committed to, we're going to let the dancers and the singers all do their thing and we're just going to show them, feature them, or we're going to do something really cool visually. And it never committed to either one of them.
Right. And then, and I can be a harsh critic, but I know that it's a really hard thing to pull off.
Yeah.
To find this happy medium of like what actually works for a musical. Because then we get things on the other hand, like the live action remake of Aladdin that Disney put out, where it felt like a stage musical was just being filmed. It didn't feel like, it didn't feel like a film at all. Where this one, it feels like maybe they should have had more of those choreographed moments that felt like, a stage musical. Because that's what, the classic movie musicals very often would just like have a great performer and let the performer perform and follow them with the camera. Like there's a reason you do like full sweeps from like full frame to a close up, because that's, what the performance calls for. And your camera work really should be working hand in hand with the performer. And sometimes that doesn't happen these days, I guess.
Yeah, true. And I now that we're talking about it, I feel like I have more criticism of this movie than I originally came in with, because I do. But I also think I do because I really liked the movie. I did really enjoy the movie. I had a great time. And again, I'm probably biased because I really like the show, and I actually do like Lin-Manuel Miranda's music, and also I do like Jimmy Smits. I don't know why Rita Cooper hates Jimmy Smits so much.
I like Jimmy Smits too.
But yeah, even though I have all these things, I still think it's a good movie. It's fun to watch. I was watching it again this morning. They'd made some changes to the movies, to the story.
What were the changes? Yeah, because
there's a few things that changed, and nothing's deeply changed, but there's some things that I usually when they change things I don't quite understand. But I think I understand most of the changes. One of the changes that they had was Nina, who's the girl from Stanford, whose dad owns the cam company. In the show, she has a mom, and there's this whole thing with there's like relationship problems with her and her dad, because his dad feels like he's having a hard time and not feeling like he's successful enough and all this stuff. And he has a song called "Useless" because he feels useless, and it's one of the like not so great songs of the show. So I'm glad they took that out because it's kind of boring. Even though the point it makes is strong, the song is boring. And his relationship with Benny, with his daughter's boyfriend, is negative. He doesn't really like him. It's like
I've heard about that. Yeah.
And I like that they kind of tossed it out because that's such a like old, boring, cliched thing about dad not liking your boyfriend, specifically because he's a black man. And like it just was like, it was nice that they just took it out, and there was no problem. They worked in the same place. He knew that he was dating her. He felt comfortable enough to confront him about an issue that they had. I did like that was part of the story. That was really good. Also, the cousin, in this show, he's kind of mostly a sidekick character. He doesn't have a lot more. They gave him so much in this movie. The whole thing about DACA and him wanting to go to college and his father being an alcoholic, they gave him a lot of depth in this movie. And he started out as just this like quirky kid, I was like, oh, he's just there to be weird and like this like kind of nerdy weirdo kid. And then like as the movie goes, he was kind of one of the stronger plot lines in this movie that wasn't in the show. And I liked all the stuff they gave him and all the weight they gave that character, which is, I don't know, it made me feel good. And it talked about a lot of present issues about DACA and immigration and all that kind of stuff, which is really cool.
Yeah, I mean it's that's how you update a story to be to stay relevant, because the story was already relevant, but you add in all that other stuff of what's going on right now, make it even more important. How do you feel about the other controversy that's been happening?
I hate it so
we have
much.
To bring it up.
I hate it so much. Not I don't disagree with it, but I hate it so much that it happened here. I hate that it happened here because this movie should have been, outside of its filmmaking issues, it should have been a thing to rise Latino people up, and they did, but then they forgot about some of us or some of them.
Yeah, and
so the issue was that they underrepresented Afro-Latino community, which is big in Washington Heights and New York and stuff. And they're there, but they're kind of sprinkled throughout in the crowds, and it did feel like they were very much underrepresented because they're a large part of the community there. And so this movie's gotten a lot of flack for this, and rightfully so. And I don't think they did it on purpose. I don't think it was like, let's keep them out. It was more of like, we just kept perpetuating the thing that's always been happening and not having that visible. And I think they should have done better.
Yeah. And Lin-Manuel has already, issued a statement on it saying, people who are criticizing the film because of that are absolutely right. And that's something that he needs to take into account with his,
Yeah, he said, he acknowledged it. He said that they did wrong.
Yeah.
Readers Group says, are they large part of the story? Yes, because the entire community is. The whole movie is about the community. Is about, even though there's all these characters, the story is about Washington Heights and the community. And as you watch the movie, as you see the sprinkles of colors throughout the movie, Afro-Latino are incredibly underrepresented in a community that is largely that. it's a much larger community of Afro Latinos in Washington Heights than it appears in the movie. And yeah, and the thing is, it's about a real place. So it should have been more obvious to the filmmakers that this should have been something they should have acknowledged.
Yeah, and I'm glad that they have acknowledged that it is.
There's a problem.
The criticism is super warranted, as Reed H. Cooper says. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. I was just trying to fill air.
I was going to say that this movie, because my friends and I have discussed this movie, and all of the misrepresentation, and a couple of other things that have been coming up lately. And we ended up having this discussion about how much harder we are on movies starring people of color than we are of other movies, like white movies. And it's such a right. It's such a complex situation, because it's exactly what you say, Art. Like, this movie should be something that we can use to rise up the Latino community and to be representative of the Latino community, but we also want to make sure like everyone is included. And I think that we hold movies that are created by, and stories that are created by people of color to a higher standard, because we also feel like people of color should know better. Mm-hmm. Like, we don't expect white people and white people who create stories starring white people to really extend an arm and invite a whole lot of non-white people in. But because people of color often, have this similar experience of oppression, we kind of feel like you understand like why Afro Latinos also want to be in this, right? Like, you understand why. So we end up like being even more critical of movies like this. It's the same thing that I was doing with Soul. Even though it had a white director, it didn't have a black co-director. And so I was kind of like, we get this black movie that's still centered on a white person, and I am really criticizing this movie very harshly for it. But I think it's very important to remember that people of color do not get the same opportunities as white people. And anytime that we get some sort of great opportunity in some movie like this, I think it's important to call out that criticism, but also like, let's just still celebrate how great Latino people are in this movie, and how great black people are in Soul, and all of that. Like, there are two sides to it. It's so complex. All of this stuff is so complex.
It's like, if you're going to take all the criticism, you also have to take the good things that come with it as well.
Yeah.
This movie had a lot of really super positive things. And it was definitely all about telling Latino stories and pushing those forward. This small movie is entirely about Latino stories and sharing those stories and pushing those stories forward. Thank you, Cindy, for the amps. I blanked out because I saw amps. But so I do appreciate it. And I maybe in a lot of it's because I am Latino, so a lot of these themes and stuff just like stuck real hard. I was particularly drawn into the movie a whole bunch.
Yeah.
Like, grandma dying messed me up.
That was literally, I mean, phrasing, because this is an awful thing to say, but her dying was the best part of the movie.
It is one of the stronger things.
It was literally the most focused, the best, like everything from that blackout all the way up to her song and her, all of that experience, and her going through the tunnel and going through the light and then going back to reality where they find her. That chunk of film was the best part of the movie. That was like, the centerpiece of the movie for me because it was so well done, and I wish that the rest of the movie was as well done as that.
And in the show, that song isn't attached to her death, which I thought was so good that they did this in the movie. That they let her in, because at the end it's basically about like, do I go or do I stay? Is basically her question. In the show, it's more about she wins the lottery, and it's like, what does she do with the money?
Whether she's going to move or not.
Yeah, what is she going to do? But I love that they oh man, and.
Well, it has an even bigger impact now because it's literally life or death.
Yeah. So it was so amazing. And it messed me up a little bit because the way she died was very similar to the way my grandma died. And like the paramedics coming and all that stuff. So I was like, that was like trauma trigger. It was real weird. I haven't had one of those in a real long time. So that was fun. Rita Cooper says, are there any gays? Because that's also a huge thing. There was, but not really, right?
Not really. There was well, another standout scene for me. You could probably guess one of my favorite moments. Knowing me, one of my favorite moments in this movie was the song at the salon.
Yes.
And there are some gays in that. They're definitely included in that little bit, but that's kind of it. So they are there in the community, but let me tell you that scene before we go away from that scene. That scene, even more than the gays, what stood out to me was the wigs in that scene and the wigs listening to the gossip. I knew you were gonna love that. I don't know if that's a part of the stage show or not.
I don't remember.
But that was brilliant. I loved the wigs moving and listening to the gossip. It was so good.
Again, the only problem that I had is they didn't quite commit to them fully as this like magical thing. It was like in between, but they were really funny. Speaking of the gays, I think they alluded to the fact that Carla and I forgot her name, the main hairdresser lady, might be a couple, but they did nothing with it. Because at the very beginning of the movie, when they're waking up, she gets up from bed and kisses her, and then leaves. Like
you're right,
they're
and I totally
together.
that
was one of the changes in the show that kind of I didn't like. So there was the 3 hairdressers in this movie. In the show, there's only 2. Kuka, the third one, which is played by
what's her name from Orange is the New Black?
From Orange is the New Black, Dasha. She's not in the show. And so
interesting.
Or if she is, she's like not important. I don't remember, but basically it's the other 2 who are the important characters. And I felt like adding a third one kind of washed the duo out because in the show they're very much about the 2 of them and the interactions they have and the kind of the strong woman and this kind of like innocent kind of character who's a little ditzy, and they plays around really well. But in this, they watered that down because they added that third character who added nothing to the
She's
story.
kind of. I feel like if she was added, because I did not know that was the case, but if she was added, I feel like she was added to be some sort of like Latina trope comic relief, because she definitely is a stereotype character.
Yeah.
And she's an enjoyable character, but I do feel like she didn't really add anything except for some side eye and some comic relief.
And it literally felt like, oh, my friend Dasha, she's an actress, and we're gonna do this movie. Let me see if I can make a role for her to be in. And it would have been fine if they hadn't.
She's a great actress. I love her and stuff.
And it would have been fine if it hadn't replaced a lot of the other 2's their moments, which I thought was kind of weird.
And if what you read as them being a lesbian couple is true, then adding her completely washes that down as well.
Yeah, they should have explored that even just a little bit, and they didn't. Cindy says it was a very background character. So, so she might have been in the show, but not in the forefront as she was in.
She was not as prominent.
No.
So they made her more prominent just because they cast her with an actress that people know. Interesting.
This is a little bummer.
Interesting.
Lin-Manuel singing the Piragua song. I thought I was gonna be upset about it because he's not a great singer, and that song in the show is like a belter of like a tenor, just punching through the wall. Like it's an amazing song. But because the filmmakers didn't visually give it that punch, it was kind of fine. Like, it was fine that he sang it, because then it became more like it became more cute and silly. Yeah.
What if the whole intent was that the reason that we're saying that the filmmaking in this is not that great is because the filmmakers brought the filmmaking down to match Lin-Manuel singing? That'd be awful.
Regis Cooper says, you don't like Lin-Manuel as a singer? He's not a great singer. He's fine, but he's a rapper. He's a performer that way, but a singer, not really. And she got like one of the big strong songs, but like I said, because they shot in the way they shot it, it was fine. It was just more like this cute moment of this guy that's this guy selling stuff, and the guy in this feud with the ice cream guy, who was the ice cream guy was the original Benny in the Heights when they first opened on.
Oh, okay.
Broadway. Oh, and Grandma played the Grandma on Broadway. I think she was opening cast.
Oh,
as well.
really?
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't she also the grandma in Dora the Explorer?
Was she?
In the Dora the Explorer movie, not the show, but that live action movie that came out. I think.
Oh, she might have been. I haven't seen it yet. Yeah, so a bunch of these people are from Broadway, and like Usnavi, the guy who played Usnavi, has played Usnavi on Broadway. I guess going back to what we said about it, it's great that they brought a bunch of like really strong Broadway performers onto this.
Yeah.
So, in conclusion, I liked it. I'm gonna watch it a whole bunch of times, but I do think again. Some movies we're going to tell you can skip. I think this one's still worth a watch. There is a lot of, even though we had a lot of criticism of it, I think there was a lot of criticism because there was a lot of commitment to it in terms of like what we wanted to see and what we expected, and it still gave us a lot. So there was a lot to give criticism to. So I do recommend this movie. I think it did fine in terms of like adaptations of a Broadway show to film. It did okay.
Yeah, and if you're looking for a modern movie musical, I would definitely pick this over La La Land for sure.
Please.
Yeah.
But yeah. Well, I think that's good right there.
That's it. We got one more episode before hiatus. The next episode, there's no homework for you, but next week we're going to be talking about movies that are 4/5 good.
Oh yeah.
so like movies that are really, really good up until the very end, and it's like, oh man, we're just gonna be, just having a random chat about those types of movies. So if you have any ideas for movies that you feel that way about, definitely bring them in the chat.
Regis Cooper says, sorry, gonna have to be La La Land for me. Anyone's homework.
I'm
homework.
That's
watch
your choice,
in the
then
Heights.
I'm also
watch In the Heights so that you can actually have a comparison to La La Land, and you can develop some of the, you can understand it further. That's your homework.
Yeah. If you're choosing La La Land, then I am also sorry for you. I agree.
Yeah,
we're all sorry.
And then just again, if you guys don't know, after next week, so July 12th through the first week of August, so 4 weeks, there will be no Cinephilia. So just FYI, we'll let you guys know again next week. But yeah, I'm gonna be gone for a month, so can't do it. But yeah, thank you so much for joining us, everybody. I hope you have a great night. Watch those movies, and we'll Cinephilia later.
Yes, we will.
Yes, we will. I wasn't ready.
Since I didn't get to say it.
Yeah, let's do it again. I didn't have my fingers ready.
No, it's fine. It's fine. We'll have a big choreographed moment for next week.
Right. Cinephilia later, everybody. Bye. There is paints after this. I'm sorry, I forgot to say that. Come hang out with us in like 5 minutes because we're going to do perception paints. Go get your paints ready. So, that's it. I forgot to say that. Okay, bye.